Am I a bad person because I got a little smile on my face when I found out that 42% of the people that receive SNAP benefits are white people in red states?
Alright, so white people are the biggest beneficiaries of welfare. White people make up about just about a little bit over 40% of welfare, being recipients of welfare. Another 25.7% is made up by African Americans. Approximately 10.3% are Hispanic.
Fucking tell me they're lying. I need somebody to fucking tell me they're lying. I need somebody to fucking tell me they're lying right fucking now, because what the fuck do you mean that I'm not gonna get my fucking SNAP benefits? What the fuck do you mean?
Whites are the people who use SNAP benefits the most, and most of those people are in the southeast and other rural areas. So you're talking about your own people.
Stipulation has always been that black people are lazy, that black people are on welfare. Well, guess what? A lot of poor white people in the red states are now crying that they're not getting the EBT money from the EBT cards. Why? Because they are on welfare. They have 7 and 8 kids. Now the truth is coming out since Trump has slashed funding for the EBT and the SNAP programs. You see how many white people now are on welfare. So all this mythical stuff about black people being on welfare, oh, it's the blacks, it's the blacks, it's the blacks. Now you've seen the real America.
Too many privileged white people are coming here on this app and they're talking about people that benefit from food stamps, which most of them happen to be white. Most of them happen to live in Republican states, red state. Now, don't blame the Democrats, because this is absolutely Trump's doing. He can fund it if he wanted to. He's funding ICE. He's sending $40 billion to Argentina. Why are you not mad with him?
Finally, people are waking up. For years, the stereotype has been that food stamps, SNAP benefits, welfare, all of that was a minority issue. But now, white Americans themselves are admitting something they never wanted to say out loud. The majority of SNAP recipients are actually their own people. And the moment this truth hits reality, suddenly the conversation changes. In today's video, we are breaking down what's really happening, who is being affected, why the narrative was always flawed, and what this means moving forward. Stay with me until the end, because this is bigger than food stamps. This is about the truth.
White people were mad because they thought SNAP benefits were only for black people, and now that they're mad that their food stamps are being taken away too. What? Except I lived in the South, so I have seen this before. Matter of fact, my best friend, I met her in college and she was pregnant, okay? That little boy, sweetest little boy, but she was on like WIC and food stamps and healthcare and everything too, right? As she should be. She needed the help. She needed the assistance, okay? We were driving the car one day. She would not shut the fuck up. She was like, I'm so mad at people taking my tax dollars and blah, 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 and we shouldn't be paying for other people's healthcare, and I don't want to pay for other people's food. And I finally go, girl, you know you're the other people, right? And she was like, huh? And I was like, the health insurance that made you be able to take your little boy to the doctor yesterday, I paid for that. The food that you eat, that you put on your table, I paid for that. My tax dollars paid for that. Like, you are the people that you're talking about. How are you going to sit here and trash talk people when you are the people? Like, you have WIC, you have food stamps, and you have health insurance for you and your child. And you're going to sit here and trash talk people who use government aid. What? And anyways, they're mad now. They're mad now that their shit's being taken away too.
What I've decided to do is look quickly at the statistics from the last census. Now, this holds true going back, but actually in the last 20 years, it has increased. The number of people receiving public benefits of some sort or another has increased amongst one particular demographic, and that is amongst white people. 20 years ago, 61% of all the people receiving public benefits of some kind in the United States were white people. Today, 76.2% of all the people receiving some form of public benefit were white people. And the rest were people of color, 13.
TikTok, like for real, get me off of it. I need black people to start commenting ASAP, because I'm over there and them asses are talking about, oh my God, do y'all know SNAP benefits come from us? We give out SNAP benefits. It comes from us. It was created for y'all. The first white person to receive SNAP benefits was what, 1939, and her name was Maybelle, and she lived in New York. And baby, when black folks tried to get it, they excluded the sharecroppers as well. And then white wholesalers manipulated the program and profited off of it, leaving black folks out to the dust. Now what stopped that shit was the Food Stamp Act of 1964. 64, y'all. My mama was born in 65. So let me get this straight. White people, y'all have benefited off of food stamps longer than any other race in this fucking country. Black folks just got that shit for real in 1964. Hell, we got that before we got our voting rights. And then in the 1980s, y'all got pissed off that we were getting actual help. And y'all started coming up with the trope, the welfare queen, saying black people and black women in particular were using food stamps to get over on the government, leading to increased restrictions and eligibility. Restrictions only harmed low-income people of color, i.e. black folks.
Welfare was created for white people. I knew that it was created during the New Deal, so I did some more research because I didn't really know the whole story, and I thank you guys for responding and helping me learn stuff. So during the Great Depression is when we saw the beginning of things like Social Security, unemployment insurance. But here's the kicker. When Franklin Roosevelt built those programs, he had to make deals with Southern Democrats in Congress, the same folks who were big fans of Jim Crow, to get the support of these racist white Southern politicians. The programs were designed to exclude farm workers, domestic workers, jobs held overwhelmingly by black, Latino, and indigenous people. So right from the start, black and brown families were pushed out of benefits so that white people could get them. Then we move forward to the 1960s, and there's this war on poverty. It finally opened up welfare programs more broadly, and that's when food stamps became permanent. Well, permanent, we don't know what Trump's going to do to them, but they lasted a long time. And guess what? The minute more black and brown families started accessing this help, the politics shifted. Welfare got a new image and a new target. By the 1980s and 90s, with Ronald Reagan and his gang, they pushed the welfare queen myth. That's a racist dog whistle meant to turn public opinion against safety nets by blaming black women for poverty that white policies created. The majority of people on public assistance in the United States of America are white, and most of them have jobs. They just don't make enough money to survive without a little bit more because wages are low, rent is high, a lot of jobs don't come with benefits anymore. You can't have a job without a cell phone. You can't even find a job without the internet. But it's not poor people who are eating up the most dollars in public assistance. Nope, it's the middle class. It's people who can take mortgage deductions, and of course, corporations cashing in on subsidies, but nobody calls that a handout. SNAP, Medicaid, housing assistance, those aren't loopholes to help billionaires save some more money and line their pockets so that they can get more yachts or whatever they do with it. They're lifelines for millions of people. And here's the kicker. Those programs keep all of us safer and more stable. If you're mad that someone's getting help, maybe just look at why they need it, not just who they are.
I'm going to bet that this is not the face you would think of when you think of who is a SNAP benefit recipient. I've got white skin, a college degree, I'm married to someone with a PhD who's also hot, and we have 2 boys, and we were on SNAP benefits less than 2 years ago. Our oldest was born less than 6 months before the pandemic kicked off, and literally when he was born, the very day after I started graduate school, because I was trying to get a graduate degree. Because of my wife's degree, we've been prioritizing her career ever since we met. So after the pandemic started, I stayed home to be the parent while my wife continued her career. By the time childcare started to look like a viable option, we were pregnant again and had another child before the vaccines even started to roll out. So we're a family of 4, living on a $60,000 salary while she was completing a postdoctoral research project. We didn't even know that we qualified for SNAP benefits for years. It wasn't until we found out that our oldest is autistic and someone recommended that we at least apply for SNAP benefits, because that could be a big help on our finances, which we're barely getting by. Now, we all know how much more expensive things got after the pandemic, but from 2020 to 2024, the place we were living increased its rent by more than 30%. We started at $1,500, and when we left, the rent had gone up to $2,000 a month, more than 30%. So we didn't even know that we qualified for SNAP for years. We literally had to be told this is something you should look at. So I want you to remember that. There's a lot of people who probably qualify for SNAP who are not currently getting it. The next thing is, after her postdoc was done, she started her own company and in her first year made $200,000. What happened 1 year later? Well, Trump took office and completely destroyed our business. How can such a great businessman who's going to have everyone swimming in money destroy our business? Google what wind energy is doing in the US. It's moving overseas. It's moving to Europe because Trump has completely destroyed all opportunities for investment in the wind energy sector. And so all that money that was getting poured into that business that we were making six figures from, it's now going to Europe. It's not going to Americans anymore. Wind energy brought us probably more than 60% of our income that year. The rest of it almost exclusively came from scientific research grants, which have also just evaporated.
Seeing white people in real time come on this platform with the realization that SNAP benefits is the same thing as food stamps and EBT, it's quite comedic. I can't lie, it's a little funny. And not funny, haha, funny, weird, because they did the same shit with Obamacare and the Affordable Care Act. They didn't realize that they were one and the same. Just two different names. SNAP, Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program, EBT, food stamps, they're all the same, just different. You know, one is just like the government official name. I don't know. That's the thing about racism and being racist. It's a sickness. It's a disease that's generational, if we're being quite frank. And y'all don't want to heal from it. Y'all don't want to get better because you feel like you can stand on some imaginary pedestal instead of allowing everyone to get benefits that make all of our lives better. You will cut off your nose to spite your face. You will shoot yourself in the foot in the name of making things difficult for a demographic that you just don't like, for something that they can't change, their skin. But then you don't realize you're hurting yourself too. And a lot of these politicians, the only color they care about is green. Money is their god. Money is who they serve. I don't know what more you need to understand. That it's not like a left and right thing. Yes, most of the time, unfortunately, because we do live in America, it is a black and white thing. But it's also like an up and down thing. A lot of y'all, especially white people, need to realize that you are the third estate. You are the proletariat. You're not the bourgeoisie. That's not how that works. But again, your racism that y'all don't want to get rid of, that y'all don't want to let go of because it makes you feel better about yourself, has now caused all of this to come full circle. I don't know, like, why are y'all mad? Y'all voted for this. And then saying y'all didn't vote for this is kind of crazy. Y'all gotta stop saying I didn't know. That's not a valid excuse. We have Google. There are so many different platforms for you to obtain information from. I don't know is not good enough. You voted for it. You wanted that man in there. And he don't care about y'all. He don't care about none of us. We're not in his circle. Why do y'all really, like, you see how much of a nasty sickness racism is? It's caused all of this BS. And y'all can't cure yourselves until y'all face reality and admit that you're sick. You have to, first part of recovery is admitting that you actually do have a problem, that you have a sickness. So let's start from there, but y'all don't even want to admit that.
America has had a very sneaky way of shifting blame when it comes to poverty. For decades, when the topic of food stamps and welfare programs came up, the stereotype pushed into the public mind was always the same. Black people are the ones abusing welfare. Black people are the face of SNAP. That image was repeated over and over in politics, in media, in jokes, in movies, everywhere. But today, as food stamps are being cut, as SNAP is being reduced, white Americans are waking up to the truth they never wanted to face. The majority of people on SNAP benefits are not black, they are white. And now that the cuts are happening, many are realizing that these programs were never about race. They were never created for minorities, they were never designed for immigrants. SNAP was created because white Americans were starving. Let's take a moment and go back to the beginning. It's the 1930s. The Great Depression hit hard. Families lost their jobs, farms collapsed, children were malnourished, and hunger spread across the country. Poverty wasn't a black issue. It wasn't an immigrant issue. It was a white rural poverty crisis. That's when the US government created the first version of food stamp program. Not for black Americans, not for Latinos, but for struggling white families. SNAP was literally born to keep white Americans from starving. Many people today don't know that because over time, politicians weaponized welfare programs and tried to attach poverty to race. Fast forward to the 1960s and 70s. Black Americans, after 400 years of forced labor, no generational wealth, systemic discrimination, exclusion from jobs, finally started gaining access to some of these programs. That's when the image of welfare changed. Suddenly, welfare became a political talking point. Suddenly, the narrative switched to welfare is being abused by black people. Even though at the same time and still today, there are just recipients of SNAP benefits and continue to be rural white Americans, white single mothers, white working families living paycheck to paycheck. But the media never showed that. Politicians never said that. Instead, they gave people a target to blame. Not poverty, not the economy, not the rising cost of living. They told people to blame black folks because when people are busy fighting each other, they don't pay attention to what the government is doing. And now look at what's happening. Food stamp benefits are being cut. Rules are changing. People are losing assistance. And guess who is now crying on TikTok saying, "How am I supposed to feed my kids? This isn't fair. This isn't what I voted for." White Americans, the same people who were told welfare was for the other people, the same people who believed the stereotype, the same people who voted for politicians promising to cut welfare and stop government handouts. Well, congratulations, you just cut your own lifeline. You didn't cut someone else's benefits, you just cut your own. Let's talk about numbers, because numbers don't lie. Over 41 million Americans are on SNAP. The largest demographic group on SNAP is white Americans. 76% of rural counties, mostly white, depend on federal aid. Meanwhile, black Americans make up a smaller share of SNAP users, even though they face higher poverty rates. Why? Because black Americans have always been disqualified, pushed out, or given the bare minimum. Historically, when white America struggles, the government creates new programs. When black America struggles, the government creates new speeches. That's the difference. I want you to hear this. Most SNAP recipients are white, but most SNAP stereotypes target black people. That's not an accident. That was designed. It was a psychological, political strategy. When you keep the working class divided, black versus white, no one looks up at the people in power who are actually causing the problems. Poor white Americans were convinced that black people were stealing their jobs. Immigrants were taking their opportunities. Welfare was going to other people. Meanwhile, billionaires were taking tax cuts. Corporations were getting subsidies. And the government programs were quietly being slashed. Everything was a distraction from the truth. And the saddest part is this. A lot of white Americans voted against SNAP while depending on SNAP. They voted to cut the programs they themselves needed. They voted against their own children's school lunches. They voted against the food stamp budget that feeds their household. Why? Because they were told those people were abusing the benefits. They were sold the dream of superiority, but superiority cannot fill an empty refrigerator. Here is the irony. Many white Americans are realizing something black Americans understood long ago. When politicians talk about cutting welfare, they are talking about your welfare, not someone else's, yours. When politicians say we need to stop government assistance, they are not talking about millionaires. They're talking about you. They're talking about working class families. They're talking about parents who are just trying to make sure their kids don't go to bed hungry. And now snap cuts are happening and you're seeing videos everywhere. I never imagined I would need help to feed my family. Retired white seniors, my social security doesn't cover food anymore, and it hurts to see. Because poverty is not a joke. Hunger is not karma. Nobody should have to suffer to learn a lesson. But we also have to acknowledge reality. Voting based on fear backfires. Voting based on stereotypes backfires. So here's what this moment should teach all of us. Poverty doesn't care about your race. Hunger does not care about your political party. SNAP benefits do not care about who you voted for. When the benefits stop, when SNAP funds run out, when the grocery bills pile up, you are all in the same boat. Republican, Democrat, independent, black, white, immigrant, hunger hits everyone. And now the curtain has been pulled back. The illusion is gone. The truth is clear. SNAP benefits were never about race. They were about survival. You need to stop letting politicians divide you by race. So that was it for today. Make sure you hit the like button. Tell me what you think in the comment section and subscribe if you've not yet subscribed.